closer to the microphone? Or can you hear me? I think you can hear me. Hello, everybody. Hello. Good evening. Good evening. We'll give you about 1 minute to get settled. We're ready to begin. We're ready to begin. So the sooner we can come together, the sooner we'll be on our way. Okay? All right. Now I think we're good. Okay, we're there? All right. Cell phone ringers off, right? Cell phone ringers off, on silent. Right. And thank you all for coming. Thanks for all that brought us together tonight. So, I'm the first one speaking, so I get to mess with the feedback. Okay, did we get together? All right, welcome everyone. We're going to have specific thank yous in a moment to all the great people that worked on bringing this debate together. But I just want to start this meeting by thanking you all for being here. And I think that's the crux. When we think about Hoboken, we think about a debate, and I look out and I see so many members of our community, so many members of the Housing Authority family, so many of our resident staff that are here tonight. It makes just makes me feel great. We're here with these esteemed candidates this evening. Thank you for coming. We really appreciate it. We'll be introducing everyone in a moment. And we are being broadcast live on our Facebook Live feed, and which will be repeated if you go to the Housing Authority site over time. And thank you to those that submitted your questions in advance. I think we're going to have a lively discussion tonight. This tonight here, you are democracy at its finest, right? We are here tonight as a community, as residents, to debate respectfully, right? To be here together and do the American tradition of finding out where people stand and how we are going to pick our leaders for this fine city of Hoboken. So again, thank you all for coming. Part of that respect is for the candidates to keep track of their speaking times, right? You guys got the rules, speaking times? And because we have a limited amount of time, and for the audience to respect the candidates, because these fine people came and they're really, really working hard to represent you. Our debate will end at 8:30. The schools were nice enough to give us this venue for the evening, and they have asked that about 8:30 that we be hitting the door. So we appreciate all of us understanding that we've got time limits tonight. Finally, I would like to welcome all the HHA residents and the Hoboken community members with the utmost love and respect for coming tonight. I'm proud to say that the Housing Authority and I am part of the Hoboken community. So thank you for coming. And I would like to introduce someone very special to the Housing Authority, our chairperson, Barbara Reyes. Barbara?
Good evening, everyone, and welcome. As both a proud resident and chair of the Hoboken Housing Authority Board, it fills me with tremendous pride to stand before you tonight as we make history together. For the first time, the Hoboken Housing Authority is holding a mayoral debate right here in the 4th Ward. In the heart of our community, this moment represents more than just an event, it's a statement. For too long, residents of the Housing Authority have been overlooked, but tonight we declare we will no longer be the forgotten part of this town. We are engaged, we are informed, and we are ready to make our voices heard. This debate is proof that when residents come together with purpose and pride, we create spaces where our leaders must listen and where our future is shaped by all of us, not just a few. Thank you to everyone who helped make this possible, our residents, staff, partners, sponsors, as well as the candidates. Let this evening serve as a reminder that Hoboken's strength lies in its unity, and that every corner of this city, including the 4th Ward, matters. Welcome to the first time ever Hoboken Mayoral Debate hosted by the Hoboken Housing Authority. Tonight, our voices lead the conversation. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to thank Director Rico and Chairwoman Reyes for the opportunity to moderate this last mayoral debate before next Tuesday's pivotal election. A special thank you to the Hoboken Board of Education for use of this auditorium tonight. My name is Peter Biancano. I am the host and the executive producer of The Pulse with Peter B. And I would like to thank our sponsors, as without them, this important forum could not happen. They are the Mason Civic League, the Hoboken Democratic Committee, Joseph Bronco, and Pavel Sokolov, the chairman of the Hoboken Republican Committee. I would like to welcome all 6 candidates running to be Hoboken's next mayor. They are Dini Ajmani, Councilwoman Tiffany Fisher, Councilwoman Emily Jabor, Councilman Ruben Ramos, Councilman Michael Russo, and Patricia Williams. You are all informed of tonight's guidelines, but I do want to repeat them for the audience in attendance for tonight. You will have 90 seconds for an opening statement, 60 seconds to answer questions, 30 seconds for rebuttals, 60 seconds for closing remarks, and then at the 15-second mark, a yellow warning card will be lifted by Justin Kennedy. You can see that, correct? And then it will be followed by a red card when time is up. Thank you. Candidates, we ask that you stick to the time parameters as we are going to try to get through as many questions as possible in the 90 minutes. Folks, a 30-minute highlight reel of tonight's debate will be broadcast on this weekend's episode of The Pulse with Peter B. So make sure you tune in to Amazon Fire and Roku and our YouTube channel to watch that. One more thing, audience. I'll ask you to please hold all applause until after each candidate's closing statement, because we're going to try to get through as many questions as possible. So I think you're all tired of hearing from me. I know I am. So we're going to begin with our opening statements. And we're going to begin with Ms. Ajmani. You have 90 seconds.
I always have the honor to be the first one, and I thank my husband for giving me this last statement. Soy la candidata a las alcaldías de Hoboken. I am Dini Ajmani. I'm a candidate for the mayor of Hoboken. I'm very excited to be here. We live in a lovely city. We all know it. And I'm excited at the prospect of being here next year. But we all know that our city is on the wrong track. And don't take my word for it. You'll hear today from the council people as well a list of things that are not working in the city. Affordability, broken roads, traffic, parking, water mains, the list is going on. The thing is this though, they are city government. They are responsible for running the city well. I'm offering today an alternative. I believe I can do a better job. My entire life has prepared me for this challenge. I've run large organizations. I've managed over 400 people at one time. I know how to do budgets. I was assistant treasurer for the state of New Jersey. I can do this. I can bring down our property taxes. I can control rents, and I can fix parking. My husband and I, we love this city. We probably will live the rest of our life here. But more of the same will give us more of the same. I'm offering an alternative, a fresh start.
Thank you, Mrs. Ajmani. Councilwoman Fisher, you have 90 seconds.
Sure. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for everyone who made this possible. This debate reform is long overdue, and I'm proud to have played a role in helping making it happen. For too long, voices of HHA residents who make up somewhere between 5 and 7% of Hoboken's population haven't had a dedicated platform in our local elections. Tonight changes that, and I'm really glad to be here. My name is Tiffany Fisher. I've lived in Hoboken for 31 years and have served as the second ward council representative for the past decade. I often say that one of Hoboken's greatest strengths is that we all share the same backyard. Whether you live uptown, downtown, or right here, what connects us is our shared sense of community, something that makes Hoboken truly special. And within that, the HHA community stands out as one of the strongest and the most important. But we're living in a world that's increasingly divided, too often by income, access, and opportunity. Hoboken is not immune to that. It's the job of local government to make sure everyone, not just those with more resources, has a seat at the table and access to the same opportunities. That's why throughout my time on the City Council, I've pushed to keep parking affordable for residents, to make programs and sports accessible to all kids, and to restore community policing, something I've fought for a decade. I also worked with Chief Labu, who was our police chief for about 6 months, on ways to better support engaged children growing up in the HHA. As I said in my campaign kickoff last spring, after public safety, the redevelopment of the HHA will be my very top priority as mayor. I will partner closely with Director Recco and ensure he has the full support of the City Hall to move this forward as quickly and responsibly. And I'm proud to be running with Liz Urtecha, Dave Mello, Carter Kraft, many people that many of you know, and Diane Imes, a team of independent, experienced neighbors who share that same commitment to putting residents first. Thank you for having us tonight.
Councilwoman Jordan, 9-second opening statements.
The words were very sensitive, so hopefully you can hear me okay. My name is Emily Jabor. I have lived in Hoboken for 17 years and I have 2 daughters. My professional background is in social work, and one of the things that's most important about the social work philosophy is to meet people where they're at. So to say it's an honor to join me here in the 4th Ward is really an understatement. I'm very pleased that this evening is happening. It's a historic moment, and I'm grateful that we're able to have this conversation tonight. When my oldest daughter was in pre-K at Grant, there was an active shooter drill one day while I was volunteering in school. I went home and I was so heartbroken having watched 3-year-olds huddle in a corner during this active shooter drill that I reached out to the organization Moms Demand Action because I wanted to do something about it. I couldn't just stand by and watch that continue to happen in our community. This then led me down the path of getting involved in local politics. I started attending Coffee with a Cop, I started going to city council meetings, board of ed meetings, and before long I was asked to run for city council. I decided to run for office because of my dedication to public service. Being involved in my community was always important to me. One of the first things I did when I moved to Hoboken was I was part of the True Mentors program when it started out, before I had children. And for the last 8 years on city council, I've worked every day to help problem solve in this community. Whether I've been tagged on Facebook, whether I've been reached out to in an email, or met someone on the street, it's been my goal to consistently show up and support this community in all of the ways. As mayor, I'm excited to take that responsiveness to City Hall. There are so many things that need to be addressed, and I'm excited for tonight's conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Ramos, 9 seconds.
Thank you, Peter.
Please,
I love you guys too. Thank you, Peter. Thank you to the Hoboken Housing Authority for having us this evening. And welcome to the 4th Ward, everyone, in Southwest Hoboken. It's really a pleasure to be hosting you guys tonight in a neighborhood that I was born and raised in. My name is Ruben Ramos. Many of the audience know me as Ruben, Rubencito, Junior, or Atlanta. You guys are part of me, and I'm part of this neighborhood and the fabric of our community. I've served as a councilman, state assemblyman, I'm a teacher, a cancer survivor. I raised my family just as I was born and raised in Hoboken. Baptized in St. Joseph's Church, married in St. Joseph's Church. The honor of my life has been working with the Housing Authority residents and working every day to try and improve their quality of life. And I have to say, some days I felt like a failure where we were, where people are still living in mold conditions, people are still living in indecent conditions. We want to work every single day in fighting corruption from Detroit, Washington, from fighting for infrastructure, for fighting for CDBG grant funding to improve the residents' health, their roofs, their boiler systems, and that's a fight we're going to take throughout our city. That's what I bring to the table. I've advocated every single day. I've been a great unifier. Everyone that works in the city of Hoboken comes to me for advice and for input to get the job done every single day. And we're going to job for you guys that is mayor. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilwoman Russo, 90 seconds to your opening statement.
For some of you, this is the 6th or 7th time you've seen me up here at a debate. But I know for others, this might be the first time that you're really hearing my story. I can't tell you my whole story in 90 seconds. My dad taught at Hoboken High School. That's the same school that I graduated from. One of my Hoboken High School football coaches had the honor of coaching my 10-year-old son, Jack, right on Mama Johnson Field. At St. Francis, Father Michael baptized me, and then later, prior to his death, he baptized my 2 oldest. My mom started the Hoboken Recreation Cheerleaders, and now my wife and my sister-in-law have picked up that mantle to do that for our children. All 4 of my kids have either gone or are going through our Hoboken public schools. They play in our parks, they grow up on the same streets I did, they're surrounded by the same neighbors who helped to raise me. So when I say I'm from Hoboken, it's not just because I live here. It's because it's my home, it's my family, and it's my story. It's our story. Its history, grit, and heart are all packed into 1 square mile. That's why I'm running for mayor. Because Hoboken made me who I am, and now I owe it to Hoboken, and I owe it to you. I'm not here for the easy issues. I'm here for every issue, with real solutions. And when I tell you I'm going to do something, I'll do it. That's the kind of mayor I'll be. All in, all heart, and all Hoboken.
Thank you, Councilman. Ms. Williams, 90 seconds, please.
Thank you. Did you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Mark Greco and Councilwoman Barbara Reyes, Commissioner Barbara Reyes. This is long, long, long overdue. When I received the call from Mr. Greco, I was almost in tears, and I want to thank you again from the bottom of my heart. But tonight, you have been given, and this is for the HHN, an opportunity to let your voices be heard. Remember this, no questions are stupid, crazy, or insane. That's why I'm running for mayor, to continue my fight. I know I had a tough fight. My fight alone shows my experience for 27 years with me in these red box meetings. In City Hall, at every meeting, fighting for your rights. You guys are the underserved, forgotten, and your voices have not been heard. That's why I'm going to continue my fight to educate you on your civil rights. This is the key and the first step to a great quality of life. A public education and public housing is your right. Nobody up here not giving y'all nothing, okay? So the cause I got 4 comments. It's not a privilege. We must first take the power back from the crooked politicians and give it back to the people by sticking together, making it happen. Because real diversity equals power. I see you on election day. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. All right, we're now ready to our first question. And Alice is going to be a city, so Councilwoman Fisher will have the first question, and we'll come back around to Ms. Adjani. All the questions tonight were submitted by Housing Authority residents, so it is them speaking, not me, since the first one, this person is 27 years old, and I'm way older than that. So, okay, candidates. As someone born and raised in Hoboken for 27 years, I've seen the invisible line between uptown and downtown, especially how the housing authority community is treated like it's separate from the rest of the city. Besides just showing your face in the housing authority during campaign season, what real solutions do you have to bridge that divide and truly unite Hoboken so that every resident feels equally seen, heard, and valued? Councilwoman Fisher, 60 seconds.
Sure. It's probably the most important question that we've been asked, and we've been asked a couple times. You know, within Hoboken, I think the tone is set from the top, and we haven't had a mayor that has been interested in uniting our community and putting those bridges in place. And to me, that is exactly who I would be as mayor. You know, I live in Northeast Hoboken, and I can tell you that when under Chief Magoo, they had Project Rocket, which was to bring community leaders together to engage with the housing area, very specifically the children, and get more people involved in the community. I wasn't on the list to be invited to be in that group, but I inserted myself on the list for this specific reason. Because we can't do things just within the housing authority. We have to bring people from across our city to be a part of every single activity that we do. I think what Community Lifestyles flag football program at a children's level is a great example of what we need to do to bring people in our community together.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman DeBoer, 60 seconds.
Sure. This is something that's very important to me. One, showing up here and to be part of this community. And I remember being at community dinners before COVID happened in the community room at 221 Jackson, joining the West Side Women, then Familyhood. Those kinds of community organizations need to have our support, and that means not just ensuring that they have sufficient funding as local nonprofits, but also then showing up for them every time they invite us, whether it's a dinner or it's the trunk or treat this past weekend. Secondly, I think we need to provide more city services that are closer to campus so that it breaks down those barriers. For example, the city has 2 social workers who work through constituent services, providing regular office hours on campus. Office hours from the mayor as well. That's something I've committed to, is ensuring I show up at town hall meetings throughout the city, not just by city hall. And finally, as part of the redevelopment plan, think about the physical barriers and ensuring that the future of campus doesn't have fencing and physical barriers that make you feel like you're on a separate campus. We need to ensure that that physical layout of the campus is integrated with the city so that it feels seamless, because we're all one Hoboken.
Thank you. Councilman Ramos, 60 seconds.
Yeah, well, I've never left. I've been here my entire life, so it's a neighborhood I'm integrated in. But one of the things that we've always done throughout the year is always give back. We sponsored a number of bus trips to go to Pennsylvania, to go to South Jersey, to go to beaches. We've always been involved in that. And that required Instagram photos. It's something we do from our heart and for the community. When Community Lifestyle is coming up, we help raise that organization from the ground up. When we have the Winter Wonderland program, getting involved with Director Record and other members of the Housing Authority, we raise our hands to that occasion. But for the first time, we did was a lot different from City Hall. We did best community development block grant funding to the Hoboken Housing Authority for new roofs, new boiler rooms, paving the roads, paving the parking lots, and really integrating our city and recognizing the services that it needs. We need to do more. Although it's federally funded, we need to do more as a city to protect our most vulnerable. And we started doing that in 2015 when I was re-elected to the city council. The federal government allowed us to do that. Those are things I want to continue to do moving forward, whether I'm your mayor or not. I'm going to be the mayor on November 4th with all of your help. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Russo, 60 seconds.
Again, I grew up here on the west side of Hoboken. I've never left either. And I show up when no one's looking. I show up for the residents that are in this room and outside this room. Whether it's about their housing issues, whether it's about safety, whether it's about a family issue. I show up each and every time, and I'll continue to do that. Not only as a former commissioner for almost 10 years in the Housing Authority, and as a councilman, but I'll do that as mayor. We talk about open office hours. I've had open office hours since the day I was elected. I continue to have those open office hours. That will continue when I'm mayor. We will have specific open office hours in the Housing Authority to make sure that our residents have the direct line to that city hall each and every time. Let's talk about safety real quick. We integrated vertical patrols through our buildings. That will continue. We will have more police on the street. We will have more police walking the beat. So you will feel safe each and every day. Not like other parts of Hoboken, but like all of Hoboken.
Thank you, Councilman. Ms. Waiter, 60 seconds.
I must respectfully disagree with all of them. The question was, what will you do to integrate not only at election time? I heard this in 2021, the election prior to that, and the election that also one of these council people helped Robbie really run on the polls. The housing authority is forgotten, guys. The people that's sitting on the stage tonight pick your commissioners. First of all, let's start with a commissioner to come down there and sit on the board and worry about the way you live inside your house. I don't care about no outside trees and plants with CDBG grants. That money should be in your units. My son lived in the housing authority, I want to cry. And here we grew up uptown, and we're not integrated. They forget about y'all. It's election time, it sounds good. It's just, I'm trying everything in my power not to get emotional, because you guys are being deceived. Wake up. And in closing, this is the ones that didn't take the $35 and the hot dog and the free treats. You need 4 years of service, not one political cut or a handout of service.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Mr.
Living in housing authority is my first-hand lived experience. I grew up in a similar city in India. My father was a factory worker. Both of my parents did not finish high school. We lived in a small apartment. My brother and I shared a bedroom. So I know what it's like when the rest of the city does not treat you with respect and dignity. What my savior was the school. That's where I felt I was one of them. I was not different. My teachers made sure I had all the opportunities that the rich kids did, and that helped me emerge from the destiny that my parents were locked into. So when I'm your mayor, I'll bring that compassion to the table. I'll bring that first-hand experience to your life. I know how important it is to feel like you belong, and that's the promise I will make to you.
Thank you, Ms. Mangiamani. Candidates, any rebuttals? Councilman Russo, 30 seconds.
One point I want to add. The only person up here who has been actively talking about expanding our housing stock at the Hoboken Housing Authority. I don't want to just do a one-for-one replacement of what we're talking about. I want to expand that and expand it beyond our main campus. Why should you, as a resident of the Housing Authority, not have a view of Manhattan? Why should you not be able to have a home on the river? That's what I want to do as mayor. I want to make sure that we have housing across the city of Hoboken for our housing authority residents.
Thank you. Any other persuaders? Yes.
Why should you not help get them out of those units into church towers? Why shouldn't you tell them another avenue to say besides giving them housing? It's election time. The question is election time. You're hearing this because it's election time. If you can't spit out facts, hold it.
Thank you. Any other rebuttals? Mr. Tron, 30 seconds.
I just want to make sure Councilman Russo knows that the HUD rules actually don't allow that you add more units. When you change from Section 9 to Section 8, which is what the development plan is, you are taking property of federal government and making it privately owned, Section 8, and therefore you're not allowed. What Councilman Russo may be talking about is private development on that land, and that's very different than expanding affordable housing.
Thank you. Councilman Ramos, 30 seconds.
That part isn't accurate. There's project-based vouchers, and one of the things we're looking to expand the housing authority with senior housing, that's a recognized need on the property of 2nd and Harrison Street, the DSCFG site, which could expand the housing authority at 5 stores over 1 potentially. It's not a giveaway, it would be for sale, but that's a recognized need, not just in the housing authority, but throughout the city of Hoboken to find resident homes for our senior citizens.
Thank you. Any other rebuttals? Seeing none, we're going to move on to the next question, which is in addition to what many of you just spoke about. We're going to start with Councilwoman Jewell. What is your opinion on the Hoboken Housing Authority redevelopment plan, and how would you work to implement it? You have 60 seconds.
How would I work to implement it?
Correct.
Sure. So this is a top priority for me if I have the opportunity to serve as mayor, ensuring that people's quality of their homes is addressed, because as has been mentioned, unfortunately there are so many units that are dealing with mold issues, with water damage, any number of things that I have seen firsthand. So prioritizing that in partnership with Director Recco and the Housing Authority, whether that's attending a regular resident feedback meeting. So for example, last week I was part of the meeting that was held at 221 Jackson, and I appreciated that the Housing Authority actually had a survey to ask residents their understanding, their question of what was happening. I think we need to be very transparent and overly communicative about all the aspects of it. I know one of the things that was raised in a number of the community meetings during the early phase of the planning was worrying about just being displaced. And that's something that we have time and time again tried to reiterate the message of. This plan ensures that no one will be displaced. Everyone will continue to have a unit in the redone housing authority. That is an absolute top priority for everyone involved, and I will make sure to see that through.
Thank you, Councilman Ramos. 60 seconds.
And thank you. This is something that we're working on day one. We have been working on. We try to make this a reality for over 15 years now. We've had stop and starts, but now we're starting, and now we're going to run. We'll start sprinting soon enough. And hopefully in the very near future, have a redevelopment agreement before the city council to vote on. I mean, we have to do this. This isn't a can we, this is a have to. This is a must before this development gets condemned. It also has to be the expansion, like I just said, with the PSCG site, so moving along fast. Because no one, housing authority residents or residents that live on the west side outside the housing authority, want to live in a construction zone over the next 10 years. We want to try to move this as fast as possible, as soon as possible, and cut any red tape that the city can put in their way. Make sure we're working with the housing authority and commissioners, and working with the entire neighborhood to make sure everyone knows what's going on a day-to-day basis, and being transparent, and making sure that's the integration we're talking about in the last question, to make the housing authority look like the rest of Hoboken. That doesn't uplift the Hoboken Housing Authority residents. That uplifts all of Hoboken.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Russo, 60 seconds.
A few things. One, there are multiple options. You could have RAD conversions, Section 18, Section 8 housing choice vouchers for project-based versus individual-based. There are multiple options that we could explore to expand the housing authority. We need to do that. Not just what we're trying to do with our current stock, but expand that beyond our main campus right now. I had the privilege of serving on the Housing Authority when we started talking about Vision 2020. And then I had the privilege again to serve on the Housing Authority to make sure that this project is being moved forward. I've been intimately involved, not only as a commissioner of the Housing Authority, but as a councilman, and when I'm your mayor, I would make sure it gets done and in a timeline that is conducive for everyone in this room and beyond to live in very good housing.
And Ms. Williams, 60 seconds.
Anybody have any money to lose, it will not happen. I was assuming Camilo Garcia's aide when he had the Vision 2020. We said right in the Mama Johnson field with outside developers, which is now named appearing on people's campaign contributions. We cannot get affordable housing if you're wheeling and dealing with the developers. It becomes poison politics, and you're going to be living in your same housing in the same living condition. Facts. I'm talking facts. Okay, I'm out there. I'm at every meeting. I'm in the courtroom, the boardroom, the hospital room with most of you, and you know who you are. I am there on the scene. I can't make this up. It doesn't matter. I'm not desperate for a vote. I'm not desperate to win. I'm desperate to see you win. The power should be in your hands. Don't be deceived by the same thing as you look around you that didn't take place. They've been promising y'all for years. A redevelopment, and you got developers giving people $400,000. You got developers working with the new incoming mayor, then everything's going to change on November 5th.
Thank you, speakers. Mr. Alman, 60 seconds.
The mission of the Housing Authority was to provide safe, sanitary, and quality housing. The residents tell me they're failing at the mission. So I believe in the thought and the intention behind the redevelopment plan, but I'm also skeptical. I'm skeptical because I know how redevelopment works. The developer is going to have to borrow money from a bank, and it's going to need what's called LATEC, which are tax credits from the state. State doesn't have a whole lot of tax credits to give. That's where I'm hoping that as your mayor, I can be of help. I can be of help because I know Trenton very well. I've worked there for 4 years. I know people at HFMA, this is the Housing Authority in Trenton, and I can use those connections and relationships to bring those tax credits that developers will need. There's one thing that also makes me skeptical, is how much developer money has entered our politics. So when I see a mixture of private market rate versus affordable, I'm skeptical.
Councilwoman Bishop, 60 seconds. Please, hold your applause.
So I'm not skeptical at all. This is a project that has been underway for a long time with a lot of ideas, a lot of input from this community, and a lot of really talented people working at it. And my contribution, I'm the only one up here who actually has worked in commercial real estate almost my entire career. So I know how projects are managed. This is a huge project that has to be executed, within the boundaries of Hoboken and within the boundaries of the campus. To me, as mayor, I will continue to support Director Recco and make sure that we have, the smartest people around this. So the project isn't stalled because of our lack of knowledge of the project. If it's stalled, it's because it's things outside of our control. We have so many people that we can bring to bear to help move this forward, and my commitment is to partner with Director Recco with whatever resources we have in the city and try and harness the resources in our community to get this done as quickly and as efficiently as possible.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any rebuttals? Ms. Williams, 30 seconds.
I have a rebuttal from Ms. Fisher. She said 3 times what we're going to do and what we can do. Do you have any short-term solutions where they can move now and be in clean living conditions with the resources that we have in our city already with respect to affordable housing buildings, but we can transfer them out of the conditions they are now? Do you have any ideas for that?
Yeah, absolutely.
30 seconds.
Two things. One of the things that we had asked the administration to do was for the city to take over the RAC control of the Housing Authority, and that would free up resources within the Housing Authority to allocate to some of the issues that Pat just mentioned. Second, I think we have so many contractors and people that are in the maintenance business within our community that would want to donate time, services, etc., to be able to support and make some positive change to existing residents. So I am all in for that. And as mayor, just having the ability to direct some of those resources, I can't be more excited.
Any other rebuttals? The Councilman Ramos?
I think
30 seconds.
you'd be skeptical of the plan if you weren't intimately involved the last 6 years of effort that we put into the plan. And it wasn't just getting the housing authority residents on board, it was getting the entire neighborhood on board to recognize the need and the conditions of the existing housing authority that needs to be improved, to improve their day-to-day lives. That work was done. We were operating in isolation, the outside neighborhood didn't believe in the project. But now I think we have believers outside how it improves everyone's quality of life throughout the city, not just housing authority residents, but that's the ultimate goal here. We can't be skeptical, we have to dive all in, put all of our heart and soul into this effort here. And I think a lot of people coming to the dais put this work with me. They weren't believers at first, but everyone down to the housing authority, all their efforts to partner up with us.
Thank you. Any other? Councilman Russo?
Just want to add one thing. I think what happens a lot of times is people get confused as to the roles of government. So the housing authority is very separate from the city of Hoboken. When the city of Hoboken, as the council was talking about how we can have other ways to house our residents, it's not specific to the housing authority residents per se. When we want to talk about how we're making the lives of the housing authority residents better, well, I think the Housing Authority Board of Commissioners is doing yeoman's job of doing that with Local 55, making sure we're turning over units, making sure we're doing repairs, and making sure we have those professionals on staff and contract with the Housing Authority to do that. Timeline might not be great, but it's getting done.
Thank you. And Ms. Alvarado?
Just 1 second.
Sure.
Looking at the strategic plan, I will say this. There are so many nuggets in there that are favorable to developers. I'm going to read you one line. It says, increased height in later phases may be deemed appropriate. That means at a later stage, a developer can decide to add more stories. I worry about things like that because I have seen developers let this down.
Thank you. No other rebuttals. Let's move on. Councilman Ramos, this question will begin with the answer. Harassment and sexual assaults are on the rise, especially in the southwest portion of town where we are tonight. What are your plans to work with the Hoboken Police Department to improve response times? You have 60 seconds.
I think number one, get them out of the cars. The police department needs to be walking our streets. They need to be walking into our businesses. We need to have an intimate relationship with our police officers. Everyone should know their name. They should get to know people's name. And that way we feel more comfortable walking through our streets. It's not just a problem Southwest, it's a problem throughout our city. For the last couple of years, we're going to recognize that. I think we want to implement a blue light program. It's in parks currently, in Columbus Park. It's at college campuses throughout the country. We can implement that blue light system throughout our city to make it a little bit safer. But ultimately, it comes down to our response time and police being present. Police being present, not in their vehicles, but walking the streets. And that's what we want to do day one, to change that current dynamic that they have. And also, secondly, we purchased a mobile unit. We want to have that mobile unit move throughout our city to different column spots. We have that more visibility for police officers, not in Southwest Hoboken, but throughout our city. Visibility is the key. Visibility is our core. That's why I walk our streets on a daily basis. That's number one. That's our biggest priority.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Russo, 60 seconds.
When we talk about the housing authority, I talk about the tale of two cities in Hoboken. They're always looking at two different cities. What happens at the housing authority is very different from what happens at other places in the city of Hoboken. Things that we need to do immediately, because this phenomenon isn't just an occurrence once in a while in the housing authority. We need to make sure that our police officers are where we need them to be. That's not just patrolling the housing authority, but we have a great opportunity in this redevelopment project to actually house a second precinct in the housing authority. There are so many possibilities when we talk about how we're going to change the housing authority, not just for housing, but what else are we adding there? And a second precinct in the city of Hoboken sounds like a good idea to me, so that our housing authority residents feel just as safe as everyone else in the city of Hoboken.
Thank you. Ms. Waivers, 60 seconds.
I'm next.
Ms. Waivers, 60 seconds. That's what you said.
I want to say one thing. I want to see more of you guys at the community policing, but I want to see the community policing come to the housing authority. You have 3 community rooms. I think they should go down to the housing authority to at least make them feel safe, not invaded. It's a difference between seeing the police walk the beats to feel safe, but when my kids and other children don't feel safe from their own police department and feel like 18 cars parked outside their door morning, noon, and night, it seems more intimidating than making them safe. Now, when that incident happened in the park uptown, we seen more police presence, the police come around. But you don't need 25 and 30 cop cars sitting outside the housing authority, letting that stigma still exists. A cop car there are now good, but introduce them to the new police officers that we have in town, they're from out of town, and make them feel safe too. Thank you.
Ms. Lajmani, 60 seconds.
If we wanted our police department to change behavior, we just missed a big opportunity. Just a few months ago, this council, with no votes, it was 7 yes and 2 absentees, passed a police contract which gives the police department, police officers, close to 10% increase in salary in the last few years of the contract, it's an 8-year contract. That was the opportunity to ask for some reforms. That was the opportunity to say, we want more patrolling. We want more cops on bikes and walking our streets. We missed that opportunity. What I would do is involve Carson County more. Carson County has 300 sheriff officers. They should be patrolling our streets as well alongside with their own police department. We give $70 million to Carson County. I work on Wall Street. They say over there, if you have a hammer, use it. We have a hammer. We have our taxes. We should use that to demand more from the county.
Thank you. Councilwoman Fisher, 60 seconds.
Yeah, so we hear a lot about community policing, and definitely day one, I will be hands-on there with our police and ask and require that they convert their current operations to community policing. What is the difference? The difference between community policing and crime fighting is what we see when they're in the cars and they're chasing people that have already committed the crime, whereas community policing is when they're walking around our neighborhood and just their presence and interacting and engaging with our community keeps the crimes from happening, and that's what we have to do more of. I've been working with, a year ago we had a terrible situation in Church Square Park where a nanny was beaten in front of children in the middle of the day on Halloween. And since then, Councilman Giantino had started an effort with neighbors in that area that I stepped into after she passed to work closely with our police to come up with a better connection between our police and the public. And we've been meeting with the police about every 6 weeks since then. It's not easy, but I would agree with a couple of people up here that we need to make sure that our police resources are allocated where we need them, not sitting in places where we don't.
Thank you, Councilwoman. And Councilwoman Jabour, 60 seconds.
As mayor, public safety is my #1 priority, and so that has to be where the resources go. That's why on the council, when I had the opportunity to vote for additional police officers, I did. Not everyone actually did. The reason that we need that is to substantiate this idea of a community policing bureau. It's something that we've talked about at great length on the council, but we need the additional officers in order to do that. Part of the reason we also supported, well, I personally supported, the contracts is because it's becoming increasingly difficult to recruit additional police officers. You may have heard any number of commercials from the Port Authority or from New York City. People are trying to recruit more officers because that profession is becoming more challenging to enter into. There's a high degree of burnout associated with that. And so in order to have a strong police force, we needed to ensure that we had fair contracts, which I was proud to support. Finally, information sharing is a really important key to this ingredient of feeling safe in your community. And so social media can sometimes be difficult for that, but it can also be very positive. So for example, when we can use the NICS alerts to let people know what's going on in their community, that's an easy way that we can do better to tell you what's going on.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any rebuttals? Councilwoman Fisher, 30 seconds.
Sure. So I was one of the 2 people that Dee mentioned that abstained on that police contract, and I was one of the people that voted against some of the additional police. And the reason for that is one of our huge financial pressures in the city, but more importantly, we have seen the existing number of police that we have the ability to do community policing. So we just need to change before we set up a separate community policing bureau. We can do that with the resources that we have, and I'm committed to doing that on day one.
Thank you. Ms. Raiders, 30 seconds.
I don't know, Tiffany, who voted for it or against it, but Director Ferranti brought 17 officers on board with the money, and I was the one arguing, saying every penny of their salary they deserve it. Every penny. Me being a former officer, I know somebody's life is my first line of defense. It's a very serious job. They deserve every penny they get. And I fought hard for those 17 police officers. Welcome to Hoboken.
Ms. Ashman, 30 seconds.
I know it is hard to recruit police officers. When you speak with them as to what they want, they don't say salary or benefits, but they say is empower us. Give us the power to arrest those who are doing bad deeds and keep them in custody. Unfortunately, our state laws have made it very difficult.
Thank you. Councilman Russo, 30 seconds.
You can't pretend to be the champion of safety when you refuse to vote on police contracts or increasing our police department so that we can provide those officers to make you safe. You also have to understand the role that you're actually seeking. As a mayor, you set the priority. You send the directive to the police chief to say, these are the things we need to do. We don't need to outsource that to other municipalities or the county or the state. You as the mayor set that priority. That's the way it works.
Councilman Ramos,
The reason the contract is so important, we had 9 police officers apply to be Hoboken police officers. That's it, 9 applicants. So how are we going to do all this extra policing without the bodies? That's why that contract is so important, to entice more recruits to come into our police department. And we have 5 agencies: Hoboken, Stevens, Port Authority, New Jersey Transit, and Hudson County Sheriff, all patrol our streets. But they don't communicate with one another. We need to improve that communication across the board. That way we have more eyes on the street with all those agencies as well.
thank you. Moving on. Councilman Russo, you will be the first to answer this question. And you have 60 seconds. City officials have warned taxes will be on the rise next year, which will make Hoboken more unaffordable and less economically diverse. What would you do to rein in spending in the budget?
This one's real easy for me. We need to restructure how our city government is. We need to take that top-heavy government and start to pare that down. Reduce the number of departments, make sure each director is working efficiently and effectively to run this city. That's first. Second, we have to tackle some issues that everyone seems to think are not able to be changed. Our pension, our healthcare costs, and our debt service. Everyone says that we can't change these things, but in fact we can. Each of those is tied to the number of employees in the city. Each of those is tied to how many times we put something on the credit card. Those need to change, and we have a very clear plan on how we can do that. So to reduce the number of taxes in the city of Hoboken is not as hard as so many people think it is. You just have to have the political will to do it.
Thank you. Ms. Weaver, 60 seconds.
The political will and also the integrity. You got a lot of big political bosses that's been in place for years, making 187, almost 200 grand. And guess who paid for it? You guys. All of the, I blame every council person because the mayor's supposed to work with your 9 council members on contracts. Okay, so they know the top-heavy business administrators, the administrator to the administrator to the administrator, getting 6 figures, and that's what hurt you. Don't have nothing to do with their health care. Again, poison politics. So beware of who's going to be the next mayor, as they say, because you're going to get more of the same.
Thank you. Ms. Ashman, 60 seconds.
Thank you. Administration owns 6% of the budget. How much are you going to cut? The problem is elsewhere. The problem is we give too many tax rates to developers. They are pilots, payment of taxes. We shut them up like candy. The problem is our healthcare cost, employee healthcare. We're spending $25 million on employee healthcare. A single health plan for an employee or family is now $50,000. Think about that. Our problem is we don't demand enough from Hudson County. How come Hoboken has a pool and we don't? We should be saying bring our taxes back here so we can use those to serve our residents instead of using taxpayer money. stay on this path, the spending path, where we spend, yes, our taxes are going to go up. Close to 25%, and this is not me saying it. This is our business administrator on his last day at work. His last words were, we are at a fiscal cliff.
Thank you. Councilwoman Fisher, 60 seconds.
Sure, we definitely have financial pressure next year. I would disagree with Councilman Russo, who actually has not been active in the entire decade that I've been on the council, the budget, and I have. Debt service is immovable, and if anything, it's getting bigger. Healthcare costs, definitely we have an opportunity to rein in costs, but it's not something, some of it's overnight by changing how it's administered, but some of it is renegotiating our union contracts. You heard that the council approved an 8-year contract with a chunk of our employees. So that those types of things happen over time. We need to do a full budget review of City Hall and look for areas of waste, like other people have mentioned. We do have some mayoral appointed hires at the top that we can reconsider whether or not we need all of those. But as importantly, people need to understand the reason why our costs are so high is because we've had a mayor who he had an open approach to things, like you get a park, and you get a park, and you get a park, and now we're actually paying for it. So we're getting good things out of it, but the cost of that is significant, and we have to find ways to offset that in the future. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Jabour, 60 seconds.
Sure. I think anyone who says that there's a simple answer to this is pretty much lying to you, because this is a very complicated issue, and it's going to absolutely be a challenge in the coming years. During my tenure on the council, it is something that I have endeavored to be part of in terms of being part of that conversation as chair of the Finance Committee. The challenge is that people want more services from local government, not less. And if you attend any city council meeting, you'll hear that. Part of my concern is people feeling the value of their tax dollars at work, not just seeing the dollars go out. You want to walk around the city and feel like you're seeing your tax dollars show up in terms of the conditions of our parks and the cleanliness of our streets. We need to have a participatory budget process. It needs to start earlier, and it needs to be better communicated with all of you as our residents. Because right now, Hoboken continues to have the lowest tax rate in all of Hudson County. That's a fact. But if you don't feel that when you're walking around, that's a disconnect in the system. We need to actually put that information front and center. My entire career has been working to create metrics that can communicate our goals and outcomes. We need to bring that to City Hall so that we can actually show you the value of your dollars at work.
Thank you, and Councilwoman Ramos, 60 seconds.
Essentially, we need to be more efficient with your tax dollars. We have 3 assistants in the parking utility right now. We don't need 3 assistants in directing the parking utility. We need more people helping, like Councilman Jabour just said, cleaning our parks. They're making a lot less than 3 assistants. We have 2 PR people in the City Hall right now, each making 6 figures, or close to 6 figures right now. So there's efficiencies across the board that we can find within our budget. As far as pilot payments go, that's been mentioned in every single form that we've had. Pilot payments are things that we're looking for when we want something for the city. Many of the pilot payments that we have going on the last 30 years provided affordable housing throughout the city. They've helped pay for parks in our city. They've helped pay for infrastructure in our city. So pilots can't be just demagogued as a good thing or a bad thing. But we wouldn't have 77 Jackson Street without a pilot that has a park, a plaza, water infrastructure underneath it, affordable housing units inside, and it's a vibrant community. It's a vibrant community we want to create throughout the rest of Hoboken as well. We need to be more efficient in how we spend our dollars.
Thank you, Councilman. Any rebuttals? Ms. Atman, 30 seconds.
I just want to talk about these tax rates for private business. A developer is not going to give you something for free. If they're building a park, if they're doing affordable housing, somebody is paying for it. And you know who it is? It's us taxpayers. Because no tax rate is free for the taxpayers. Any tax rate to one entity is a tax increase for the rest of us. And the entity that suffers the most is our schools, because these pilots take away money from our schools, $9 million a year.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Wiggers, 30 seconds.
That pilot for 770, we fought after we received the pilot. It was allocated to us. They didn't want to give the charter school none. The public school said they wanted to build a new school building with it. It's again, dirty politics. When those pilots with the public school is all together, linked together, somebody got to lose. The taxpayer going to place that burden. You're going to place that burden on the taxpayer back. How many units is in 770 that's supposed to be affordable? How many of you applied and got some of the work? and that was supposed to be affordable units.
Thank you.
So I'm not a fan of pilots.
Thank you. Any other rebuttals? Seeing none. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilor Ramos, 30 seconds.
Now, I mean, the pilot citizen of Jackson Street was an example for the first time in New Jersey's history that we helped give money to our public schools. Now, we made that happen there. Now it's a model for the rest of Hoboken and the rest of New Jersey. So we're pretty proud of that commitment. There's 40+ units there. There's 10% affordable housing units throughout our city, of Hoboken as well. But pilot schools are priorities. That's what's for. If affordable housing is a priority, it needs to have a pilot. If a park is a priority, you have to figure out a way how we structure and pay for these things. So it's not a tax break, it's a priority of what needs of our community. And that takes transparency, community, and what's been done.
Councilor Fisher, 30 seconds.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say anything, but pilots aren't like a one-size-fits-all. The 770 house pilot, Jen Tino and I voted against because it was just struck at the wrong rate. We should have made so much more money from that pilot for all the affordable housing, et cetera, that we got, but we didn't. And we need someone with experience that knows developer math, that knows how much we can get from developers from everything instead of giving away the farm, which we typically have done in every single project that we've done in Hoboken.
Thank you, Councilwoman DeBoer, 30 seconds.
I'll just say, I think the focus on pilots, I get it, that's a good topic in terms of the debate, but actually the biggest driver on a budget year to year is public safety, and that gets to the previous question. If we want to have a safe city, we have to continue to invest in our police department, and that is single-handedly the largest driver, and it is an immovable cost if we want to continue to have a safe city.
Thank you. Councilman Russo.
Thank you. You can't, it's funny when some of my opponents talk about things that they think are just not the right fit or it was a wrong decision, it's because they just didn't agree with it. It doesn't mean it was a wrong decision when it came to that pilot that was specific to 770. We got over $36 million worth of givebacks in the city of Hoboken. We got over a 1 million gallon detention system for our floodwaters. We got 42 units of affordable housing. We got parking. We got a plaza. We got a park space. We got a gym. We got so much from that one specific pilot.
Thank you. Ms. Waiters, you're going to begin with answering the next question. Street parking is as scarce in Hoboken as it's ever been. Businesses and patrons have complained that the new Clear Camera program is hurting business and residents' quality of life, especially when they need to run a quick errand and not spend 30 to 60 minutes looking for parking. Are you in favor of the Clear program, and explain why or why not? 60 seconds.
I am not in favor of parking utility, period. I wish I could go there tomorrow and fire all of them. I'm serious. You guys are laughing, but if you drive a vehicle, I'm serious. You ask why bikes is on the sidewalk, blame parking utility. They made it abundantly clear. After one of my opponents up here was supported by them for the campaign, the cameras went up the next week. They brought some strangers here from Philly and attacked me in front of City Hall because I asked what was they doing here. Guess who I interviewed? The parking utility assistant director to the assistant. The only way we're going to solve parking, I'm going to tell y'all again, I'm going to take them old meters out of storage, the 10-cent meters, leave all of that computer technology stuff alone. We don't need nobody to come in our town talking about we're going to have a study. We study. We lived here since the 60s. Ain't no parking. We don't need no outside to tell us about parking. Get rid of those directors.
Thank you, Ms. Waiters. Ms. Alfani, 60 seconds.
On this issue, sometimes they say that if you hold the book really close to your eyes, you cannot read it anymore. And on this, what's happened is the concept is just so narrowly focused. The question I ask is, what are we trying to solve for? We're trying to give bike riders a safe way to go on Washington, and we're trying to give parking spots to those who need to go in and out of the business. We can do both. All we have to do is move the bike lane closer to the curb so the bike riders are protected, and then you take where the cars are. You take that space and you make it 15-minute or 30-minute spaces so people can go in and out very easily whether they're picking up picture frame or else. What really bothers me about the way the council makes these decisions is they first just throw something at the wall and see if it sticks. If you were to buy a car, you just go out and buy one and try it and see if it works. No, right? You
Councilwoman Fisher, 60 seconds.
Yeah, this is an example of Dean just not having an idea of what we've done in Hoboken on Washington Street. We literally determined that having bike lanes close to the curb was unsafe because we didn't have enough space on Washington Street. If our road was five feet wider, we could have accommodated, but the train out there. I am absolutely opposed to this program in particular. We approved these cameras a year and a half ago at a city council meeting where we had a 30-minute conversation about how to make 15-minute drop-off spots using technology that would allow us to monitor and enforce those spots. We've never been able to do it. The only way that you could monitor and enforce previously is like if you had an HPU officer with chalk out there chalking the tires, which is not efficient. So we're excited about that prospect. This program that was unrolled was not a city council vote at all. I screamed loudly at multiple parking and transportation subcommittees against it. This was the mayor's specific decision on rolling this out. It had nothing to do with any of the council members up here.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman DeWard, 60 seconds.
Sure, so this question had two parts. The first piece of it was about the scarcity of street parking. Part of what's driving that right now is the fact that the Midtown garage is literally melting cement. And there are hundreds of spots that can't be used because of how degraded that garage is. Secondly, the Garden Street garage is completely closed. That's another set of hundreds of cars that used to use that, but because the mechanicals were so old, it had to be shuttered because people's cars were getting trapped. That's creating increased pressure to on-street parking. With respect to the CLEAR program, the rollout of this program has been absolutely terrible, but the merits of the program are good and sound, and it's worth testing. If you look at Washington Street now in Lower Washington, you can actually ride your bike down it. And in fact, a lot of the e-bike delivery drivers who had been on the sidewalk that people were concerned with are now using the green bike lanes because they are clear. It's amazing to actually see in action, and it addresses a secondary issue in a lot of ways. But we can't continue to deploy all of our police officers to sit and go behind double parked cars that are in those bike lanes all day because we need them to actually address public safety, not just illegal parking.
Thank you, Councilwoman Ramos.
Thanks. I did not vote for the implementation of cameras with our voting zones or to provide a CLEAR program. So number one, it lacked education and community input. We had a lot of community meetings to say what's happening here, what's going on here. No one knew what was happening. And our businesses are speaking for us and to us. That since the CLEAR program is being implemented, they're down 10 to 20%. So that's great when people go ride their bikes clear in the bike lane, but no one's going into our businesses. So in 6 months, if our businesses are shuttered on Washington Street, we're going to ask ourselves why. And the why is because we had no community input on how this plan was rolled out, no discussions on how this was going to be done properly, and it's going to be a failure even if we wanted it to be, because we feel that the early education process was a failure on our part from day one. And secondly, when we create more street parking going forward, is any new development has parking. We're going to require individuals to park in those buildings. They'll only get a daytime park permit to park in the streets of the city of Hoboken. After that, they have to park it in their facilities and not overnight on our streets. That's going to be the way our parking in the city.
Councilman Russo, 60 seconds.
The short answer to the CLEAR program is that no, I do not support the enforcement of those violations using cameras. I've said it at council meetings, I'll say it again. I do not think the city of Hoboken has a mechanism to actually utilize those cameras to enforce. And that, I believe the city is actually being sued at this point. When it comes to parking on street, we need to do a few things. One, we need very short-term parking so people can drop off, pick up, or just run into a store and pick up a delivery. 5 to 10 minute kind of parking. Utilize loading zones, not just for residents, but utilize the loading zones for the businesses so that they are getting their deliveries within a certain time frame so that we can get those trucks off the streets quickly and they're not there all day. We missed a huge opportunity in the city of Hoboken on the corner of 3rd and Washington Street. The city went away from utilizing parking in the city of Hoboken and we totally decreased it to this like unsustainable amount in new projects. We had the opportunity to build a brand new parking garage right on Washington Street for the businesses along Washington Street. It's a missed opportunity, and hopefully we can find a new.
Thank you, Councilman. And this is one guy first, and I'll continue that. 30 seconds.
Somebody mentioned how our parking garages are broken. Parking usually makes a lot of money. It makes $20 million. it makes a lot of money on our household with parking tickets that we get. The problem is out of that 20 million, 8 million goes to the city budget because they spend more than what they take in and they need to find money elsewhere. So what do? Instead of fixing the garages, that money goes to the budget of the city hall.
Thank you. Speakers, 30 seconds.
All the billions of dollars that we rake in from parking utilities that they use to pad the budget, the next day those cameras was up, and we just had a meeting. I think most of these council members voted yes, instead of afraid to move votes instead of voting no. And also, could you tell me what courtesy we have to use, Emily, for Robbie to get 147 parking tickets dismissed? I want to be in that kingdom. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other results? Yeah, 30 seconds, Councilman.
Yeah, just quickly, the only votes that we had relating to the clear cameras in the last couple of meetings were a resolution put up by Ruben and Paul to pause them and an ordinance that was put up by Paul and I to stop them. And the yes votes for both of those were myself, Ruben, Mike Russo, and Paul Frisenzano. The no votes were Emily, Phil, Jim, and Joe Quintero.
Thank you. Anybody else? Councilman DeWorst, 30 seconds.
I'm happy to repeat, as I said in my initial response, the merits of this program are good. Illegally double parking in the bike lane is in fact illegal, and so in order to properly enforce that, rather than having to hire more and more cars to sit there all day and monitor this, I want to see our police officers out there in our parks and other areas of the city to address crime. And if we can use this as a way to assist our ability to enforce, to ensure the safety of people on Washington Street, and to ensure there's a culture of compliance with those rules, I will support that.
Thank you. Anybody else? Councilman Ramos, 30 seconds.
Parking utility agents also have the ability to get double parking tickets. And this doesn't rely on all police departments to do that. So it's not just them doing it. But again, even if you're in favor of the program, it needed a reset, a pause now. That's what we requested. We requested a pause and a reset to try to roll it out properly. Try and research the right way to do this if you want to do this at all. That's what we requested the council. Not a complete stop. A pause to try to do it the right way, if it can be done the right way. Just to go back to the interior bike lane question, Again, our Washington Street is too narrow. It's too narrow to do it safely for everyone. Plus our buses going to get by, and it makes it too unsafe for our vehicles and our pedestrians walking our streets.
Thank you. Anybody else? Seeing none, since most of the candidates spoke about businesses on Washington Street, I just wanted to tell the audience my favorite, which is M&P Biancamono Italian Deli. Please visit my mom and dad at 16 Washington Street. Thank you, candidates. I appreciate it. All right, the next question is for Ms. Ajmani. Thank you. A little humor, we're almost done. What is it?
You could have brought some notes.
Yeah, I could have, you're right. What is your stance on tearing down existing buildings to make way for new developments that are not as affordable as the ones that were torn down and where rent control laws are not in play? 60 seconds.
It is very difficult being a small landlord in the city. I hear about that all the time. And many a times they have no choice but to sell the building. They know that historic building will be torn down and something will come out which will not be uncontrolled. The problem is that a small landlord, which maybe they own a townhouse and they have a couple of rental units on top, the rent control law only allows the increase in rent up to CPI while the rental is still there. The problem is the property taxes. When the property taxes go up, although the rules do allow those property taxes to be passed on to the renter, the process is so difficult that I've heard from small landlords that sometimes in 20 years they'll do it once. So what ends up happening is the landlord then ends up saying, you know what, the numbers are not working for me, I'll sell it to a developer will come along, build $2 million units, and our historic city has suffered.
Thank you, Councilman Fisher. 60 seconds.
Yeah, I think the specific situation, we see a lot of developers come in and just want to develop luxury residential in Hoboken. It's the highest and best use. It's a great return, low risk, high return. I think what we need more of, I don't want to say I'm completely opposed to tearing, properties down. We just need to do it in a way that is legally within our rent control laws. And unfortunately, we don't have enough requirements where an existing property with rent-controlled units in it are part of the approval process. So what we need to do is make sure we are notifying the building department, notifying the zoning boards and the other land use boards that when the property is being approved, that it is a property filled with tenants that have rights under the rent control laws. And we do have like one sentence, in the resolution for approvals from these boards that say you have to do it within the laws, but we need actually more. We need more eyes on that to make sure we're not displacing people.
Sorry, I have a hard time hearing you.
Sure. What is your stance on tearing down existing buildings to make way for new developments that are not as affordable as the ones that were torn down and where rent control laws are not in play?
Thank you. Of course. So this is a common debate when it comes to rent control. Economists have had multiple opinions about whether rent control is really feasible over the long term. But since my time on the council, I have been a champion of rent control protections because I know it's one of the ways that we can continue to make Hoboken affordable for families and for residents. One of the first things that I tried to work on was adjusting the annual cap from the 7.5% annual down to 5%. I was very supportive of the against the referendum, that would have undercut rent control protections. But I do know that the reality is that some of these units over time become diminished in their quality. And that's a concern in terms of displacement of those people. So what we need to do is also continue to look at how we can maximize the efficiency of municipal properties to continue to build more new affordable housing and workforce housing. That's why I've been supportive of the Garage B project, which is continuing to move forward, and it's a good conversation because we need to prioritize those brand new units that would bring more housing stock to this community.
Thank you, Councilman Ramos.
Thank you very much. I think we need better enforcement of rent control laws to make sure that individuals are not being forced out to being displaced. And unfortunately, in our last budget, that was removed from our budget, adding additional enforcement individual to try and enforce our rent control laws. Additionally, we need zoning changes. When after Hurricane Sandy, people lost access to their basements. And so those access to their basement, those access to another revenue point. So that made it more enticing to tear down their properties. So it needs to ask them to say, we lost that property here, maybe go up another story without replacing that basement place, going on top of another story in certain areas of the city of Hoboken, so that way they can retain their units and still get their return. Because after Hurricane Sandy, they lost total access to their basements. So that was a revenue point for a lot of landlords in the city of Hoboken, which forced a lot of tear down in our city, unfortunately. So that's something I got to go back and look at as well.
Thank you, Councilman Russo. 60 seconds.
I'm a tenant. I live with the same fears every single day as every other tenant in the city of Hoboken, especially living in a building that's about to reach its obsolescence. I don't know what comes next. Unfortunately, I can't afford a multi-million-dollar home in the city of Hoboken. If I didn't have those protections, I would not be able to be here. We need to make sure that landlords, when they are trying to do any type of rebuild or rehab, they're working specifically with their tenants. And the city needs to make sure that they're doing that in a way so that those tenants are being protected. How do we do that? We increase our inspectors. Years ago, the city used to have a housing inspection unit. We don't have that anymore. The state actually does that for us. We want to make sure that we, as a city, have that control so that our tenants are protected each and every time. Do the same thing with rent control. Increase the ability for our rent control office to go out and understand what units are covered under rent control. Once we are able to do that, we'll have a little bit more peace of mind as tenants in the city.
Thank you, Mr. 60 seconds.
Great topic. Sometimes I sit until 12 in the morning at the zoning and planning meeting. I'm there too, at every meeting. They are building. There's no affordable though. I'm gonna give all of you a homework assignment tomorrow. Each block we turn down, count the luxury 4-story high condominiums that was built in the last 15 years. I'm a strong voice. I don't even see the council people there. And Mike was right on one thing. The legislation has to be changed. I also live in the same church tower buildings as him. I don't fear nothing because I'm watching. I don't let them get over on me. Anyway, with respect to the zoning laws, the rent control office, deals is being cut for people to get appointed there and they're not being affected by it. That's why they don't care about the rent control laws. And I feel bad for each and every one of you that got to shake in your boots and the key away from getting locked out. I won't let them build anything if it ain't affordable. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mr. Time, about 30 seconds.
Garage E was mentioned just now. It's an exhibit A for how bad the needs get done in the city and how broken our politics have become. $20,000 got like made to our politicians months before they won this contract, a contract that they won among 5 developers with none of us have seen who did it for.
Any other questions? Councilwoman Mitchell.
Just to add 2 points, 2 of the things that I think would also help address this issue in our community. One, I think we need to increase the affordable housing set aside from 10% to 15%. That's in line with New York City policy. Secondly, I think we need to expand from the tenant advocate protections and think about this differently to create an Office of Public Counsel that would ensure anyone who's facing eviction would have guaranteed representation. In the scenario that you described in the question, a lot of times that involves illegal evictions of tenants who have those protections. We need to ensure an Office of Public Counsel to ensure those people feel that they have all of their rights and have support in that fight. Thank you.
There's no rent protection. They hired an attorney making $1.2 billion that don't even serve here. I'm fighting evictions. I get paid absolutely nothing just as an advocate. It's embarrassing. I'm facing 2 tomorrow. People are every day getting evicted. They're going to the office and they have no protection here from Mr. Abel, which is supposed to be helping you save your apartment and they work for the rent control.
Okay, Councilwoman Richard.
Yeah, I'll just say just generally, displacement is the top issue. We see more and more people that just can't afford to live here anymore and are being pushed out of their home. And oftentimes there are rents that are just not replaceable, even within hours of Hoboken. And this concept has not been a focus of the administration in the last 8 years, but it just needs to be a top focus. It will be my top focus. It will sit within an expanded rent control office to make sure we're doing everything we can to avoid displacement.
Thank you, Councilman Russo.
Families are being priced out. It's that simple. Why is it a pain point? It's a pain point because the city of Hoboken did not address the entire socioeconomic scale. We do a very good job at the Housing Authority, and thank you all to the commissioners, to house those at the very low levels of income. We do a very great job when it comes to the high-end scale. We do nothing in the middle. Our middle class has been left out, has been pushed out, and that needs to change. We need to make sure that we're housing across that whole socioeconomic scale.
Thank you. Councilman Ramos.
All these things go back to what I mentioned earlier, our zoning laws. We need to completely look at our zoning laws once again to make sure that we're able to have affordability and throughout the scale, giving landlords flexibility in what they're allowed to do in the city, to make sure that they can have affordable housing points and other points as well throughout the city.
Thank you. We're moving on to the next question, which will be the last question for closing statements, and I think this is a good way to end questions. And we want to start with Councilwoman Fisher first. Culturally, Hoboken hasn't done enough to embrace and celebrate diversity through cultural festivals, events, and community programs, especially compared to other cities. Once mayor, how do you plan to expand and strengthen Hoboken's cultural identity and support more inclusive, community-driven cultural initiatives? 60 seconds.
Yeah, to me this is an easy one because celebrating all of our different cultures and communities in Hoboken is, to me, like what my priority will be. We do a lot of it, but we don't do enough of it. And again, it falls under, we're all experiencing the current mayor, right? We have a mayor that's had 2 feet out the door for a long time. Worked against a number of council members, worked against festivals, like how many times we worked against the Southwest Festival. Like we just need a mayor that celebrates, activities in every single corner and every single block of the city, and just wants to share those activities with the rest of Hoboken. It's just bringing, uniting, and bringing all that together. And the mayor sets the tone from the top, and we need to have a mayor that is excited about Hoboken and the people that live here. So I'm all for that.
Thank you. Councilwoman Mitchell, 60 seconds.
Sure. I think the Cultural Affairs Department has started down the road, I think, of late, trying to invest in this in a way that celebrates the diversity of this community. And I'm thinking in particular about the community mural that was just added to the property by the Dana Murray Gym. that celebrates the stories of people who grew up here who maybe were overlooked in other ways. I think looking at continuing to use art as a way to celebrate those stories and to bring awareness, partnerships with organizations like the Hoboken Historical Museum can really bring that to light. I want to just say and highlight the fact that my running mates on the City Council, on my team, represent a diverse set of backgrounds that look at the different facets of this community. Because I'm not just about talking about that, I'm about actually doing that and supporting people who bring those different perspectives to bear on the City Council to work with me as mayor. We can continue to do that outreach by showing up in a hyper-local way. That means having a mayor who shows up in the community on a regular basis. That's important to me as a council person. It's what I've done every day for the last 8 years. It will continue when I'm mayor. Thank you.
Councilman Ramos?
Yes, this is another example where I do what I say what I do. We created a nonprofit Hoboken Neighbors for Southwest Hoboken to bring Southwest Fest, to try and erase that invisible line that we know exists on Jackson Street. A free event, we invite all community throughout the city of Hoboken to come to that event. And that's done through sponsorship, that's done through hard work and effort by myself and a couple of your own neighbors here in Southwest Hoboken. Secondly, it's very expensive to have a festival in the city of Hoboken. We go through all the fees. To pay for the policing, to pay for the no parking signs, and other things. We need some partners. We're looking for diversity. Those organizations may not have a lot of money. And what Hoboken sounds like has like one of the biggest hip-hop festivals in all of Hudson County. That's different. And not happening in other parts of Hudson County. We need to support that. Not tell them to hire 20 police officers at the cost of $10,000. We don't have that. We need to support them and other organizations and lower those costs to make sure we have a proper and wonderful event for all the city of Hoboken to enjoy. And that's enjoying true diversity.
Thank you, Councilman Russo.
We need to celebrate all of those cultures in our city in a non-divisive way. Far too many times we've had things happen in the city of Hoboken where it became such a contentious point between two different groups. Let's bring back those events so that we can celebrate them together. Let's bring back that St. Patty's Day parade. Let's bring back that Puerto Rican Day parade. Let's bring back those festivals that celebrate our music. Ruben touched on it. What Hoboken Sounds Like has been doing that, and they've been getting pushback every single year, year over year over year. Celebrate our art, celebrate our history, celebrate our country. Do that in a way that we now are allowing not only our residents to flourish while we're doing that, but allow our businesses to do the same and flourish and sponsor those events. That is what we need to do. Remove the obstacles, remove the fees, and let's bring Hoboken back to some common sense.
Thank you. Mr. Weaver, 60 seconds.
Lord Jesus, I hold this CBA to my heart. Diversity and inclusion, you hear it every election time. But the mayor is supposed to bring a vision to your city. And the mayor also has the power to bring everybody to the table. Gentrification, okay, and the statistic shows itself. The way I've been treated when I walk in a room for the color of my skin is disgusting. We must be less critical and more supportive. We must replace hate with love and respect. We must respect each other's opinion and thoughts and the mindset. We must stop looking the opposite way like racism is back and alive and well. First, let's start with that bill that's sitting on the State Assembly desk asking you to desegregate our school system. Let's start with the public school system. Let's start. Let me see, Mr. What Hoboken sound like. My hat go off to him. This man wanted to give a party and they denied him several times. Several times. Let's start, if y'all want diversity, build diversity, have a house party music on the waterfront, like they did for Monks and Son. Okay? Let's show me actions with real diversity. And I'm sorry for getting emotional. Hoboken is way overdue with that.
Mr. Thomas, 60 seconds.
My husband and I, we decided to live here in Hoboken, what we really admire about the city. How mixed it was in so many ways. Mixed income, mixed age, mixed profession, mixed culture. So it would be very important to maintain that. What I also want to put in the mix is diversity of age. Our average age in this city is around lower 30s. And yet our cultural programs seem to be stuck in a rut What I will do as mayor, I know my weaknesses. I have no appreciation for art, music, and things like that. But I will get some young blood into City Hall and have them rethink how we can engage with the young community in terms of how we set up our government.
Any opposed? Seeing none, why don't we move on to closing statements, and we're going to start in the reverse alphabetical order. Ms. Wiggers, you will have 60 seconds before you start. Ms. Wiggers, audience, now is the time to applaud everybody after the closing statements. We're doing that to the applaud. Let's start with Ms. Wiggers, the closing statements.
Thank God we have 5 days left. I am debate fatigued. All of your questions means the world to me. I take it near and dear my heart. Please don't leave here tonight without getting the paper. I have my picture on it. The back of the paper I left blank. I want to hear all your real concerns. Tell me the real problems in Hoboken, and I will. I didn't retire these yet. I'll be there, ready to take the fight regardless of who win mayor. I'm not easy to disappear. I'm not a loser until I quit, and I will not quit until I win. My name is Pat Wiggers. I run independent, unbossed, unbrought. I'm a one-woman army by myself. I don't need nobody's support. I don't need nothing from nobody's endorsements. I'm for the people. Always have, always will be. For all of Hoboken, the whole entire city. 9G, Pat Wiggers. Thank you.
Tonight you heard a lot. And let's just be real. You don't need a lot more talk. You need some bold action. You need bold leadership and some real solutions. And I've presented those solutions tonight. I talked about the things that I would specifically do to make all of your lives better. I will continue to do that. I started that over a year ago, and I took that chance, knowing that some of my opponents may take those ideas and run with them for themselves, or they'll attack those ideas. And you've heard some of both, and that's okay. That's what we're here to do. We're here to make sure that we're talking about the needs of all of you. I think I have done that, and if you bless me with your vote, I promise you that I will be the mayor in this city that you need to make your lives easier. Please support me, Michael Russo, 1G, and my phenomenal running mates, Nicole Magana, Pete Keeling, and Dean Murray, and then Ryan Cunningham in the 6th Ward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter. Thank the Hoboken Housing Authority for hosting us tonight. Life is about adversity. And being mayor of the city of Hoboken, you have to face adversity every single day. Whether it's public safety, infrastructure, and affordability. I've been fortunate enough, or unfortunate, I had a lot of adversity in my life through surviving cancer, with a special needs child, and those are victories, I say. Those are victories because you learn a lot about yourself. And not seeing the world through just my eyes. I need to see the world through everyone else's eyes. And that makes me that'll make me a better mayor, it makes me a hell of a council person. When I walk down the streets, I don't just see the streets through my vision. I see it through your eyes. I see it through my son's eyes. I see it through my family's eyes. And I want to make this a city for all of us to be very proud of. I make Hoboken as great as it can be. We have a lot of flaws, but we have a lot of wonderful things here as well. We want to celebrate those things and address those flaws. So muchísimas gracias por estar aquí con nosotros esta noche. Corazón conmigo, corazón con ustedes. Y viva adelante siempre. Gracias.
Thank you so much to everyone who asked questions, who came out tonight. This is a really special conversation, and I'm so glad that we had the opportunity to be here with all of you tonight. Having worked on the city council for the last 8 years, I now understand how the city works in a unique way. We're not run like a private business. You can't apply those principles to how your local government shows up for you, especially when you are in a time of need. No one has the track record that I do on that council for showing up every day. I don't just come to this campus when it's campaign season. I'm here constantly. And I'm here to solve problems and help people in their time of need, because that's what we are asked and called to do as public servants. I'm proud of that track record, and I'm excited to take that to City Hall with additional resources to get even more done. Because let's face it, there's a long to-do list of things that need to be addressed in this community right now. And I'm excited to have had the opportunity to tell you why I think I'm the right person to do that. I hope you will consider supporting me, Emily Jabor, for mayor and my council slate. Councilman Joe Quintero, Caitlin Lason, and Steve Firestone on November 4th. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Bishop.
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone that was involved in this tonight. This was a very different and very special forum, in particular because this is the one that has had the most people in the audience, which is just amazing. Shout out to everyone. I'm going to be an actual different kind of mayor, one that just puts residents first in every single decision, one that puts every community in Hoboken first in every single decision. We haven't had that for the last 8 years. And that is fundamental. We have an opportunity to elect a mayor that sets the tone from the top and says everyone here belongs, and we need to make all of our decisions that benefit everyone, every single person in Hoboken, in this community. And the housing authority population is almost 7% of our community, and it becomes the most important in Hoboken. And I'm committed to doing everything I can to be supportive, like I've been doing for the last 10 years on the council. So I hope you consider voting for me and the team to be slate, which is Carter, Liz, Dave, and Diana. I'm going to can't vote for she's in the 6th ward, but we're here and we're committed to serving you.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
We have an important decision ahead of you. Running the city is like national business for the benefit of the residents. It is your money after all that the mayor and the council spends. So be careful with who you choose. What I'm offering is a professional, somebody with experience, somebody who knows how to deal with finances. You have seen the council members in action together with at 57 years on the council. You know what they're capable of, you know what they're not capable of. If you are not satisfied with your life, don't double down on their failure. Look for a fresh start. My team is a team of professionals. We have private sector experience, we have public sector experience. Nate Gorka, Kim Gibbons, Shashi Online, you're all here. Please meet them after the sales over, and I will hope that you will consider us. I'm wonderful.
Thank you so much. Thank you to all the candidates and to our sponsors again. The Mason City League, the Hoboken Democratic League, Joseph Tronco, and Mel Sacco, the chairman of the Hoboken Republican Committee. Folks, please do not forget to vote. Early voting is happening right now. And election day is next Tuesday, November 4th. Polls are open from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Thank you again to Director